Welcome to The Ripple, where extraordinary women executives get real about their career journeys. This season, thanks to our partnership with GNW Consulting, you'll hear even more stories from women leaders about how they're building visibility for themselves, their careers, and their companies. I'm your host, Ashley Lobbs, and today we're joined by the ever-evolving Nikki Bishop. She's the Vice President of Marketing and Experience at Emerson, and she's here to share what it has meant for her to let go of perfectionism and hold on to purpose. Nikki, thank you so much for joining us. I'm really excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, great to be here.
I want to start by learning a little bit more about your journey building a personal brand, building your visibility. What has this looked like for you? Like, what's the shape of it been for you? And how has it changed the course of your career?
Gosh, the shape of it, I think it probably looks like a toddler scribbling with a crayon or a marker is probably how I would describe the shape, because it's 10 steps forward and a few steps back and around and all the things. And I don't think it's not one of those things that you really think about until later. And at that point, you've created a brand, which I think is really interesting in itself. I always tell people if you don't create a personal brand, it doesn't mean you don't have one. You have one, you just haven't been the one driving it. So I think that was a good realization for me. I think probably 20 years ago, if you'd said the word brand, I would have said, that's icky and personal brand. And that's like, I'm just focused on my job and doing the tactical things. And you don't necessarily think about it at that time until you've really crafted that. So it's a lot of turns and bumps along the way, for sure.
Well, that certainly has changed a lot. And I think so many people are realizing the importance of it now, just as we all kind of become companies of one, whether you're working for somebody else and you're just trying to take charge of your career path, or you're starting a business or, running a business and you need to be the face of it. I agree with you that, even 5 years ago, we would have been having a very different conversation or no conversation at all about this. What has that experimentation looked like for you? Has it been a lot of speaking or writing on LinkedIn or blogs, or what has it meant for you to build that reputation? Has it been more like internal at companies? What has that meant?
I think it's probably all of the above. It's, the combination of everything. I've worked for some big, large companies most of my career, and a couple smaller ones as well. And I think when you're in a big company and you talk about brand, it's something that you think it's the brand of my company, right? And it's an enterprise and it's a corporate branding. And obviously you're careful about it and you're mindful and you're super proud of your corporate brand. But what you're talking about is really your personal brand. And I remember doing a activity many years ago of putting together the elevator pitch on you. Like, what do you say when you meet somebody? And it was the hardest thing to describe yourself in, 15 seconds or less. Like, what do you want people to say about you? And then how do you articulate that into a brand? So for me, it's been, I would say, a journey in humility and recognizing sometimes my brand wasn't what I wanted it to be, right? Maybe what I wanted to portray wasn't how I was showing up.
Mm-hmm.
So, finding
that's a wake-up call, right?
Yeah. Finding those ways to be truly authentic, right? And show you really are supporting other women and you're putting yourself out there and you don't have it all together. Many of us are perfectionists by nature. I think a lot of women are, especially if you're trying to be the best mom and trying to be the best manager and trying to be the best this and keep up with, drink your water and eat your veggies and do all of the things.
Yeah.
Right. Part of that brand is just admitting that most days I don't have it all put together. It's not all buttoned up. And that's okay.
It probably never will be. We'll always find something new to want or something that feels like it's missing. I think that's just part of the human condition, right?
Yeah, it is. It's hard to admit, though.
It is hard to admit. I totally agree. The thing that I'm curious about is, I know you said this exercise was a while ago about the personal elevator pitch. Do you remember what it was, or do you have one for yourself now?
I think that for me right now at this point in my career, I want impact, right? And want people to have that experience that what I'm doing is driving an impact, not just in the industry, but to people around me, that I'm being supportive, that I'm truly all in, right? To help people along their career journey and to be honest and authentic. To me, that's the best. It's just don't think about it. Don't think about what it is you want to say about yourself. Just be and just act. And that's so freeing. where you're not having to think about what you're going to say and think about how you're going to react. Just do what your gut tells you to do. Like that's to me is that like real authenticity.
Do you think that the impact you want to create and the purpose that you're following are these things that you just find in the moment, by paying attention and being present and following your gut? Or is there a certain way that you'd like to change your industry or the world?
Oh gosh, great question. I think it's something that you find along the way, right? As things move along. I'll give you one example. I was Georgia Tech, and I was back on campus with my son, who's now there, and they have a new exhibit there that opened in the last year, and it's women who've made an impact, women leaders that made an impact at Georgia Tech, and it is a physical or structure across, the main part of the campus, and there are hexagon tiles because we're yellow jackets and it's the hive mentality, right? But there's
Right.
tiles for people who have these impactful stories. And I remember looking at that and it's this beautiful, shiny, mirrored tile that, the sun's shining on it. And I thought, it's really cool. I'm going to have that kind of impact. What kind of story can I tell and what impact can I have in the industry? And then there's also the day-to-day. That's the big thing, right? You founded a company, you cured cancer, or you came up with the latest, greatest, whatever, which I would also love to do. But then there's the day-to-day of how did you help your newest employee get from this stage of their career to the next? Or how did you help a team that maybe was struggling, to provide some coaching or frameworks that you've had that have worked for you? Like those little things, I think add up just as much as that super shiny hexagon tile that I'd sure like to have one day.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tapestry, right? There's like a million little tiles made of those everyday things. And over years and decades, they turn into that like larger mosaic.
Yeah. And how do you show up? Like, how do you show up for your team? How do you show up for your family? And one of the things that I'm mindful of, because I wasn't great about it in the past, was making sure that when you're done with the workday, you're showing up for your people, your family, your friends, the people around you in a positive way. And you're not completely drained and exhausted and frustrated because you have no energy left, right? And really making sure that you have that impact even beyond what you're doing from a business day to day.
I think it's really interesting that you actually cultivating a personal brand and making an intentional effort around this sounds like it identified places for you where there was a bit of a gap, where you knew you wanted to be perceived a certain way, you wanted your reputation to be a certain way, but you realized you weren't showing up that way. It's something you've mentioned a couple times now. Can we dive into that a bit more? How did you realize there was this gap, and what did you change in order to create that alignment?
I don't remember exactly where the feedback came from, but either in some 360s or reviews or just through the grapevine, I'd gotten some feedback that maybe I was a little standoffish, maybe a little snobby, a little introverted isn't the right word, but like just not connecting with people, which was the complete opposite of like the true intentions, right? I really wanted to be the connector and help people and be there. And I realized the problem was I was only sharing the good stuff. I was only sharing like when things were going well, and I was acting like everything was great and trying to protect people from maybe some of the things that are hard along the way. And you don't come across as real. You don't come across as authentic and or approachable. So getting that feedback and just having some conversations of, you know what, okay, this is hard and I need help. I need help are three words that I have the hardest time using, right? Admitting that you need help. Like I need help rarely comes out of my mouth, but I learned that you have to ask for help and you have to give people the opportunity to help. It's such a gift to be able to help someone. And that's definitely my love language. And what fires me up is being able to help someone. But I realized I was not giving others the gift of being able to help and being able to
Yeah.
contribute. So that was a big shift for me. I would say it's really only been in the last, I don't know, 5 to 7 years that I've been able to make that shift. And I look back so many times early on in my career and wish I'd have had that aha moment earlier. But people want authenticity, right? And that's ironically, that's what I'm drawn to too. I'm drawn to the people that are like, you know what? Today's been a mess. We're going to do that, you know?
It's a fine line when, your love language is helping others. I think so many times we also internalize that I need to be able to help myself. And again, you were saying how many women are perfectionists, right? And it just plays into all of that. So I think it's amazing that you really stepped into asking for help. And I'm curious, what was the help you received that helped you connect more authentically with other people?
Honestly, one of the best things I did was to get a coach. If you're an athlete or you're a first time golfer, you're a first time whatever, and you want to learn something new, what do? You go get lessons, you hire a coach. I got connected to a coach, and she was wonderful because she didn't tell me what I wanted to hear. She told me what I needed to hear. She took the time to really understand objectively, from an outsider's perspective, like how I was and what I was motivated by and what I was trying to achieve, and really told me what I needed to hear and what I needed to work on, which was great. You need some tough love people in your life for sure. No, my coach was amazing because she can give you tough love with the kindest smile and the most constructive way and all of the things that, that you can act on. But definitely finding those people in your life who will tell you not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. That was huge for me. And honestly, it got me comfortable with that because our feelings are hurt when you say something's not right. And your feelings are hurt when you showed up this way. Like you get all these feelings
Yeah,
about it. But
it's hard to take that feedback.
when you get used to getting the feedback, you're like, oh yeah, well maybe that wasn't the best thing to do, or maybe I could have acted a little better. You kind of normalize getting that feedback.
Hey, listeners. We've heard from a lot of women this season who are growing and scaling businesses. So we know it's not easy. If you've got a team that's growing fast or merging with another, that can feel really exciting. But then you're staring down two MarTech stacks that don't play nicely together. This is where GNW Consulting comes in. They help marketing teams sort through the mess, mapping out what to keep, what to streamline, and how to make it all actually work together. Think of them as your behind-the-scenes problem solvers, bringing strategy and then rolling up their sleeves for the execution. Plus, they're a supporter of Wednesday Women and our mission to amplify women execs. So if you're in the middle of a messy merger or it's on the horizon, head to gnwconsulting.com to learn more and see how they're helping marketing leaders move faster and smarter. I think bringing on a coach is such a helpful thing because they can be with you in the process. You're not alone in the process. So many times we get the feedback and then that's a whole journey in and of itself to hear the feedback, actually receive it, sit with it and judge whether we want to take it or not, decide what to do about it, and then struggle with however we want to change. And that can be such a hard process to do alone, which is why so many people don't. They don't change.
So it's so hard.
What are some of the things that you worked on with the help of a coach? Like, what was it that actually changed for you because you had this support?
For me personally, it was understanding my purpose, right? I thought I understood my purpose. I want to be a great mom. I want to, have a great career. I want to do all the things. But it was really like boil it down, like, really, what is your purpose? What is that about? Like, what is it that you're emotionally tied to that, to me, it came down to impact. Like, I want to have an impact. And sometimes I think I'm having that impact and that's not how people are perceiving it. And so how do I reframe that? But it came down to figuring out my purpose and centering on that. And I went through an activity with her of actually creating a whole profile, right? You go through all of your purpose statements and it's not just your resume. It's not, here's what I've done, but it's how does that all align to like my story? If you're going to present yourself as a story, as a narrative, all arranged around this concept of impact. It was huge for me. I mean, I go back and look at it. It's still something that I keep updated because it's the story. And it's also the lens you can say, am I really showing up this way? Or if there's like tweaks that need to happen along the way. It was a self-searching activity for sure.
Yes. Yeah. And I think it's when you go deeper and find that purpose that everything starts making sense because you have a North Star. And people say that all the time. But I think it's one of those things like cliches are cliches for a reason. And you can hear them a million times. But there will be that one time where it like really deeply makes sense suddenly. And now that cliche is just the most profound thing. I don't know if you've had this experience. It happens to me all the time.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that your purpose is sort of like that. where it's floating around all the time. It's already guiding the decisions that you make about yourself and your career and your life, but you haven't necessarily seen it clearly and seen how profound it is.
Yeah, even something so simple and going through that process with choosing a font color and choosing a theme color, which sounds so silly. Like, what is your color? Like, what is that experience? And what is your icon and your logo? It sounds so silly, but it's those visual things. For me, I ended up with the Fibonacci sequence, right? Like this infinite
Ah,
growth. Like, you'll see that in some of my LinkedIn stuff. But for me, it was like, how do you continuously improve and continuously grow? Because you're never going to be wherever there is. But I still think about like that visual just imprinted on me, just going through that process.
I want to dig in because I think this is such an important topic that often gets glossed over when we talk about our purpose driving us, because that shapes the kind of impact we want to have, right? Like the impact that we have in this world is driven by that purpose. And, you talk about them as like one and the same, sort of like your purpose is to make an impact. And I want to hear more about what that looks like for you because I think so many people want that. And it's like, well, what is the impact? Like, what do you feel like your purpose is, and how does that change relationships or companies or your life?
For me, it was about taking it from the cliche, fluffy purpose and purpose driven to breaking it down into things that we can take action on. For instance,
Mm.
the team and the community that we have around the work that we do in life sciences, we call team lifesavers. And that's not our team. It's not my direct reports, not anybody's direct reports. It's this community of people who all lean into our technical excellence to get life-saving therapies to patients faster. And we live that, right? Through our software and through our development and through our people and our team. But if I break that down, it really goes back to what is my core purpose? Like, why does Nikki exist? Why am I here? Right? I'm not here for career. I'm not here for, it's not about money. It's not about prestige. It's not about any of that. It's truly to help move the needle in the life sciences industry to get life-saving therapies to patients faster. But we've been able to break that down into, our software is purpose driven. And this isn't a product pitch, but this is like the tactical ways that you can take your personal purpose and translate that into what are you doing in your business and what are you doing in your personal life. Purpose is a big topic at my house. I have two boys, one in college and one who's a high school senior. And purpose has always been a big part of our family. Like, this is what we do, right? This is why we exist. And this is how we show up for our friends and our family. And it's no different than what you do in your business life. You've got to make it actionable.
It's so easy when we're confronted with our work and there's this idea of just doing your job where it becomes divorced from that purpose, or I just need to make a paycheck, or I want to make this certain amount of money. And these are ideas that exist kind of outside of this purpose and values. And it's easy to fall down the rabbit hole of like chasing these other things or just doing what you need to do and being divorced from that purpose and that intention. Is there anything in particular that you had to unlearn or a habit that you had to start in order to make sure that your purpose was at the center of all those decisions that you were making?
Let go of perfectionism. Just let it go and just know you're going to fail. Like, that's so hard. The word fail just still gives me like heartache, but letting that go, because you're not going to get it right. You can paint this beautiful purpose vision statement and all of the colors and all of the things. And there's going to be times when things are misaligned or people think it's hokey or it's silly, and it's okay. You just have to embrace it, right? Just like know that it's going to be messy.
Well, there's also nothing wrong with being hokey and silly. Like, that's okay, right?
Oh, believe me, I have Lifesavers
Well,
coffee mugs and we give out Lifesavers candies and like lean into the silly hokey thing. But those little things add up and it matters.
I'm curious what it felt like for you to accept that you were going to fail, because I agree that's a really heartbreaking thing to confront and accept when you're coming from a place of perfectionism. I think people tell you to let go of perfectionism all the time, but it's different to say, you're going to fail. Like, let it happen. Like, please fail. you know?
Yeah, and sometimes you have to celebrate those failures. And that's hard to do. Like when things mess up, we typically don't celebrate those, but I think it's important to celebrate the failures because you learn from them. But for me, also, just a self-reflection. I mean, I can look back at times in the last several years, right, where maybe I was thinking this went this way because somebody else did something, and you can kind of unpack it and see that you played a role, right? You have played a big
Yeah.
role in that. And being able to reflect back, how would I do that differently? How would I manage that relationship differently? Or how would I show up differently? That's been so helpful for me. Just letting go of things in the past and, bosses that maybe you didn't quite get along with over the years. And you think, well, maybe I wasn't showing up in the right way and taking ownership of
Yeah.
that. It's true, right? I mean, we're all humans and we interact with each other, and sometimes it's great and sometimes it's not so great.
I love the idea of celebrating failure because so often, in my experience, I mean, I'm also a perfectionist and I'm really hard on myself when I fail because I think everything's in my control. And when I fail, it's like I can console myself by saying, oh, I learned something. Now I know not to do this thing or that this doesn't work. Or, here's some other things that I would try. But that's like a consolation. And it's more like, a band-aid on the wound as opposed to celebrating it and seeing it as a positive thing and seeing it because we hear all the time about how failure is progress,
Yeah.
right? And you need to have those failures along the course of whatever journey you're going through. But I don't think that we talk a lot about celebrating them. And it's such a good idea. Like, pop the champagne because you messed up.
I messed up and I learned, right? And we're not going to do it again, and we're going to move on.
Can you tell me, do you have some favorite ways to celebrate yourself when you fail?
I just normalized talking about it, honestly. I mean, in one role, we had a channel, right, where you could put your mess up Friday ideas, right, like things that didn't go so well,
Ooh.
right, and celebrate those. So just making light of it. Now, if they're huge failures, you probably don't want to make light of it if things went horribly wrong. The
No,
little things along
of
the way.
course not.
Okay, we learned. Just normalize talking about it.
Okay, this is giving me an idea. So I've had this tradition for the last handful of holiday seasons. Like, I have a paper cutting machine and I cut out little paper ornaments, and on each one I'll put like something really special that happened that year or like a person who's been really important to me that year, and I make a garland out of them and I'll hang around the house. And I've got garlands from years past. And in preparation for that, because you get to the end of the year and I'm like, gosh, I don't even remember everything that happened. So I started just like writing things down on little slips of paper and putting them in a jar. So when I get to the end of the year, I get to read about all the things that made me happy along the way and be reminded of them. And now I'm thinking about creating a jar for all the ways that I messed up, but like not to beat myself up later, like, look how much of a failure you are. All to depress myself. But like, if I'm really celebrating, like, writing down something that didn't go the way that I planned and like what I learned from it and put it in a jar and just see how many lessons I've learned this year and see how far I've come and seeing each one of those failures as progress. I kind of love that as like a way to celebrate all of those things as part of the journey too, and not just having the highlight reel.
And it would be even more fun is to take that jar and have a failure party with your girlfriends or your friends, right?
Oh my
Talk about
gosh.
all the things we messed up this year.
Oh my gosh, I love this idea. You're going to get so many good stories. There's no way that you're walking out of that party without like laughing till you cry, I
That'd
think.
be super fun. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm really glad we brainstormed on this because I absolutely want to have like an end of year failure party
I
now.
think we should. We could even do it virtually.
Yes, I'm going to start writing these things down on slips now. And I hope everybody listening has a good think about it. And the next time that you mess up, you get out a little post-it note and just like, well, if you can, laugh about it.
Yeah.
And remember what you've learned from it and just put it away for later when it doesn't feel like such a big deal.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us, Nikki. I think this was a really fun way to end it. I'm so thrilled. We're going to put your LinkedIn profile in the comments so people can follow along with you and see all the amazing life-saving work that you're doing and learn from you as a leader. But I just really appreciate you sharing your experience with us.
Love it. Thank you so much for having me. It's so fun.
Now that we're at the end of today's episode, take a moment to reflect on how Nikki's story might inspire your own. How does your purpose shape the impact you want to have? And how can you celebrate your failures?
If today's show inspired you to think of an extraordinary woman leader in your life, let her know about the Wednesday Women Executive Membership. It's a safe space for women leaders to tackle any challenge, ask questions, and uplift others. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please give us a review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Your ratings help us grow and inspire even more people. Thank you to our Season 2 sponsor, GNW Consulting, to our executive producers, Melissa Moody and Leslie Greenwood, and to our technical producer, Yelena Georgievich, with Kind Media Productions. I'm your host, Ashley Lobbs, hoping this small ripple creates a big wave in your life. Until next time.